Hi, I'm Ross Purnell with Fly Fisherman Magazine. Next up on the ICAST new fishing gear guide, we've got Red Culper of GLoomis, and he's going to tell us about the new NRX Plus S fly rods, which is kind of a big development coming from GLoomis this year. Red, how you doing?
Doing really good. Happy to be here.
And I've been hearing rumors of this new fly rod you've got coming out, and now you're finally unveiling it.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. A couple years in the making for sure.
So this is an addition to the current series of NRX Plus rods that you came out with last year. Tell us about the S series. What does it stand for, and what's special about it?
For sure. So, I'll just get started by saying, and I've definitely fallen into this trap working for rod companies before. We tend to fall into talking about actions as how they cast. So it's like, hey, how does that new rod from Scott or from Loomis cast? Well, we kind of pivoted that concept and we're like, well, what about how the rod fishes? Isn't that more important? I mean, if you're in a field and you're casting behind your fly shop and it feels pretty good, that's great. But then you get out on the water and you experience some difficulties, whether it's, hydraulics, wind, just light conditions, specifically in salt water. It can really impact your success if you have something that's good at casting 80 feet that you feel comfortable with, but you can only see fish within 20. So the way that this rod was designed, and truly what makes it special, is actually building off of something that Steve Rajeff developed almost 30 years ago. It's called micro taper design. Micro taper design are little tapers within the overall taper of the blank. And what that was used for in the past was reinforcing the parts of the rod that typically were more prone to break, the stress points in the flex pattern. And then you take material away from parts of the rod that weren't likely to break. So it was a durability thing. So Steve was experimenting in using these micro tapers to influence the action. So instead of having a rod that flexes a very predictable path, you have these micro tapers that engage certain parts of the rod depending on how much line you have out of the tip top. So what that does in a saltwater environment, Ross, you and I have been out on some really beautiful days. We've been out on some really snotty days where those fish are 20 feet off of the pointy end of the boat. This allows a caster to feel the load of just the leader and the fly and a little bit of line out of the tip top, because it engages to a certain point in the blank, that first micro taper. So it casts really short, very well. You can feel it. But when it's time to open it up and get that distance, or the wind cranks up and it's blowing straight in your face and you really need to develop some high line speed, the line load engages further down the blank. So it still gives you that feeling, the sensation of load, but you have all the power in reserve.
So it's fair to say it's not for making the glory cast in the parking lot. It's for actual fishing conditions, because even when it's sunny, sometimes you need to make a shortcut cast. Whether GT's coming in like super fast, maybe you see them at 100 feet, but they come so fast. By the time you get the fly out there, they're 20, 30 feet around, and that's a shortcoming of a lot of rods that they can't do the short work.
Yep, you got it. And
what else is special about the NRX Plus S in terms of like components and stuff? How is it different than the freshwater rods?
So the freshwater rods and the saltwater rods share the same graphite matrix and resin system. It's our new nano alloy resin system, which is certainly much lighter than resin systems that we've used in the past, somewhere around 15 to 20%. But what makes the S models different really is an advanced guide train system, your titanium stripper guides and recoil running guides. So protection when you're sliding the rod in and out of an rooftop rod carrier on your car, or in a gunnel system in a skiff. And plus the new resin system is very impact resistant compared to resin systems in the past. It is kind of like, think of it as ripstop fabric. So if you puncture ripstop, it's built so it doesn't spread. Nano alloy resin systems are built the same way. So if you happen to hit it with, a strong arm crab, the lead eyes in the blank, and it bruises that graphite, it's much less prone to spread from that initial impact point.
It doesn't continue cracking like your windshield.
You got it. You got it.
And what range of weights does it come for? Is this bonefish models, billfish? What size range are we talking here for the S?
Yep, absolutely. So we are currently running the S from a 7 through a 12 weight, and we are expecting some pretty cool, unique line additions. Production, of course, has been impacted through this pandemic phase, but we plan to expand that line to give saltwater anglers the tools they need to be more successful in the field.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing the news with us.
Yeah, of
Excited
course.
to get it out on the flats or the blue water. My next blue water trip I've got coming up is with Eric and Mo, so we can test it on some tuna.
That's great. Well, there will be a 12 weight heading your way.
Well, I'll let you know how that goes.
Cool. Sounds great.
Thanks a lot, Red.